Mechanism Monday. Who hurt you? In my line of work, I come into contact with a lot of bosses and leaders on a fairly regular basis. People who get off telling people what to do, and the others who go off showing people what needs to be done. Huge difference. Question is, if you want to be in one of those seats, what are you willing to sacrifice in order to achieve the larger goal? Is it your ego, your pride, you need to be right, or is it only those same traits in everyone else that needs to die in order for you to live? If your absolute answer was the second one, chances are you're the problem. Because the fact is, when we discuss ego and its ugly children, pride, arrogance, stubbornness, need to be right, etc., we all have those traits and tendencies in us. But leaders understand that those ways of thinking and feeling need to be actively worked on and checked daily. The boss will agree and say, yes, other people's pride and egos need to be kept in check, but his really isn't a big deal because, after all, they barely exist. Here's where it gets deep. While most people in positions of authority will freely admit that too much pride and ego are poison to prosperity, it will usually seem as if they're placing their own beyond reproach. But how can something they acknowledge as foul on one hand be something they're willing to ignore on the other? Make it make sense, Mac. Well, it's because the people who possess them don't see those traits in themselves, but see life through those lenses so hard that they project those emotions onto everyone else around them. So as an example, you approach someone in authority and say, you're going to ruin this opportunity, and you give them examples as to how. Number one, their ego tells them that your ego is the reason you think that. Number two, their need to be right tells them that you won't admit you're wrong because of your need to be right. And number three, even after being confronted with physical or overwhelming evidence that they are indeed wrong, turns out they have a reason for being wrong, and that reason is more important than the truth of you being right. And that's after you get past the stubborn defensiveness that makes any move towards progress feels like a 5-footer walking through 6 feet of sand. It boils down like this. Number one, that didn't happen. Number two, if it did, it wasn't that bad. Number three, if it was, it's not a big deal. Number four, if it is, it's not my fault. Number five, if it was, I didn't mean it. And number six, if I did, you deserved it. If you know, you know. Honestly, if it wasn't so destructive, the Dominique Dawes level of mental gymnastics would be worth the show. But it ain't. If this is happening to you, you may not know it, but here are some questions you can seriously ask yourself to be sure. When's the last time you were wrong? When's the last time you sincerely apologized for it? When's the last time you took someone else's advice before it was too late? When's the last time you admitted that it was too late? And lastly, how offended are you that I might be talking about you? And did it ever occur to you that I wasn't talking about anyone else? Don't worry, I'll wait.